Welcome back. This is one of those stories, no matter where you are in the country, you are probably talking about this or have heard someone else talking about it. Donald Trump, you see him right there, back in court in New York today for the start of jury selection in his hush money trial. It's a case that's being closely watched as Election Day draws closer. And here to talk more about this is Professor Stephen Caliendo from North Central College. As always, thank you so much for being here.
It's good to be with you.
You know, there's a lot to talk about here this afternoon. Let's start with this point. This jury pool is coming entirely from Manhattan, where Joe Biden got 80% of the vote. That was in 2020. Does Trump already have an argument for bias in the court of public opinion here?
President Trump is such a polarizing figure that I think almost anywhere he would go, whether it would be a bias in his favor or a bias against him, we live in segregated communities, and that is in terms of not just racial and ethnic segregation, as we often talk about, but we live near people who tend to think like us. And so I think this could have been this could be a problem in all of his trials. I will tell you, Tia, though, I think that the defense team signaled that when they made sure that during the jury selection today that they had a separate question for whether or not jurors could believe that they could be impartial. In other words, they didn't want that dismissal conflated with some of these other of the 40 questions that they asked the jurors. So that's important.
And I think staying on that point, this is really important. And I was a little surprised. I don't know your reaction. What did you think to learn that nearly half of the first 100 potential jurors told the court they could not be impartial?
Well, I don't know how surprised I was that they said it. I'm a little surprised that the judge didn't press them on it. I'm trying that in Cook County. Just to say, right, I can't be impartial, that doesn't get you out of jury duty that quickly. But since they had so many prospective jurors and they knew they had to start moving through to have a timely process here, it's probably going to take a week or more to seat this jury anyway. The judge just took them at their word and dismissed them. Now, whether or not that will be helpful on appeal, if there is one, to say, look, this whole community was biased. Look at 50% of them right off the bat said, or whether it'll cut the other way to say, look, when the people said they couldn't be impartial, the judge let them go. And so that's evidence that the eventual jury was not then biased.
I know you mentioned the judge. Trump's legal team has tried over and over again to force this judge in the case to recuse himself because his daughter actually works for a digital marketing firm that backs progressive Democrats. Do you expect Trump to continue arguing the point despite having a gag order against him?
I don't know. Probably politically it benefits him. I can't imagine the judge is going to put him behind bars for violating a gag order. He'll be fined. He has a lot of money. He can pay the fines. He's trying to run for office at the same time. But look, they made the argument again this morning. The judge wasn't buying it. It'll be there in case there needs to be an appeal. But, we have conflicts in extended family all the time. I mean, you and I have had conversations about Clarence Thomas's wife being involved in January 6th, and he's not recusing himself from cases surrounding January 6th. I mean, there's things our relatives may or may not do that shouldn't have a bearing directly on our ability to be impartial.
Yeah, that's a good point. Election day right around the corner, really. What kind of pressure do you think is on this case wrapping up quickly before the election?
Right, because it's probably going to be the only one that has an opportunity to have a verdict before the election. I mean, we have all these other cases that are moving along in various stages, but this is the one that's sort of getting underway first, criminal case. And of course, we had the civil case, a couple civil cases that already wrapped up. So, having a decision, but even if it's a decision that goes against the former president, there'll be an appeal. And so it's not going to be completely finalized by then. What's really important, though, Tia, is the kind of information that emerges during this trial. And it's very likely to be quite embarrassing for the former president. This is very personal stuff. These are issues related to sex and adultery. And so, in the midst of a campaign, it's not beneficial to have that. On the other hand, as we saw in 2016, folks who support President Trump don't seem to mind very much that that this is all part of his history, and so I don't know if it will hurt him. He's hoping it will help.
It sounds like even when this trial is over, it won't officially be over. We'll be hearing about it either way for quite some time. Professor Caliendo, it's always a pleasure to have you here breaking it all down for us on First at 4. Thank you so much.